Hey, Derek.
Hey, David.
Oh, man, we have got some exciting back episodes to talk about, and I'm thrilled that we're getting started with one of my origin stories with Gimmicks.
Ooh.
I know.
Yeah.
Obviously, on the Q&A episode, I found Gimmicks looking for an X-Files podcast, but what sealed the deal was when I was looking through their list of episodes, and right there, like a shining gem in a desert, was an episode about sliders.
Yes. So that's what we're doing today while we're on hiatus for like a month and a half or however long it is during the summer. We're revisiting a few previous old episodes of Gimmicks from the pre-David era of the show. So some episodes, these are all ones throughout the next 4 weeks, I guess 8 weeks, 4 episodes.
Yeah.
That bi-weekly stuff does make it hard to talk about dates.
So hard to talk about like the future, but
we have 4 episodes that we're doing over the next 8 weeks in the regular Gimmick slot. And it's going to be the same deal, where, we're going to have a little conversation about it ahead of time. So David can basically give your thoughts on episodes that you were not here for. And, we can provide any updates or whatever. And then we'll play the episode at the end of this.
And Derek, you can also give any updated thoughts that you've had because you're allowed to evolve just like humans are in various different ways across various different universes, which is super appropriate for us talking about this wild mid to late 90s television series, sci-fi series Sliders. So Derek, just remind everyone, what's your history with Sliders?
Yeah. I talk about it extensively in the episode you're about to hear, but it is one that I watched since it started in 95. So for me, it was like a childhood sci-fi thing. Looking back, I think a pretty formative science fiction backbone for me.
Yeah.
And also a formative television thing for me, because it was definitely one of, I think for me, the first shows where I watched a TV show and could recognize that what I was watching was flawed, and I loved it anyway, and was often more interested in it because of the flaws. Because Sliders is a show that, the behind the scenes troubles, of which there are many, and we talk about some of them, it's very apparent on screen. It's wild how much this show shifts and changes, and is just an unrecognizably different show by the final season. Not just in cast changes and creative changes, but just in aesthetic and the kinds of stories it tells and the level of science fiction, and starting off as a social satire show to just a bizarre techno-babbly cheap sci-fi show,
Ooh, yeah, we were throwing some words around by the 5th season that had never been thought of by man before.
Yeah, we're stuck in the slide cage. It's just such wild shit. And and I love all of it, even when it's abysmally bad, because the show is bad often, probably more bad than good, but I also love it to death because it is just so interesting, and the behind the scenes stuff is almost as interesting as the show itself, if not more interesting in some seasons. So, Sliders was on my short list when launching Gimmicks. I'm I have to do this. I really wanted to do it with Annie Fish because I had talked about it in the episode, but I had been reading her blog since it started in 2012, and was still to this day will occasionally reread stuff if I watch a random episode because it's such a good blog. I know she talks about turning it into a book in this episode. I think that is still in production as of this recording, but if you go to her Patreon, which will be plugged, you can read excerpts of what will eventually be in that book. And of course you also have the entire blog that still covers the whole series that you can look at as well, which I would highly recommend if you're a Sliders fan.
Yeah, Annie is a fantastic guest. So listeners, you are really in for a treat if you have not caught this episode yet. And paraphrasing one of my favorite things that Annie said, which was, it's a great series, but it is definitely better in your memory than it is when you rewatch it. And as I rewatched a couple episodes in preparation for this conversation, and wow, truer words have never been spoken, because in my mind, this was I know that things happen season 3 forward, but I was I'm going to watch some season 2 episodes, the best of the best. And even then we're still in 1996. There's nothing wrong with 1996, but it's just a different time and different storytelling and different quality of guest actors, I think was the thing that stood out. One of the biggest things to me.
Yeah. All your Vancouver greatest hits and the earliest ones, but different. Yeah, you're right. A different vibe
Yeah.
for sure. And often like it's a thing where it's sort of like, oh, they're definitely doing an X-Files-y thing, but not pulling it off as competently as X-Files is most of the time, unfortunately. It's again, say it with all love in my heart for this show. I love 100%. It so much, but you have to recognize the flaws in your loved ones and be able to and accept them in spite of those flaws.
Well, and I think in a lot of ways it takes the role of like a Star Trek episode when they're going to an alien planet, except that it's always Earth. And so you have to sort of navigate the fact that you're always taking real things from our reality and then interspersing them with these differences, which I think causes some conflicts and some things that, like, even the episode that I watched for this, As Time Goes By, the first planet, I was mouth dropped about just how wrong we were getting the idea of like what would have happened if Spain would have conquered California.
Yeah, I was curious if you had any, given that you literally live in Spain now, if you had any particular things to say about that, what does they call it? Nueva
España.
Nueva España, yeah.
Literally New Spain, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's listeners, Europeans, like, I get that Mediterraneans have slightly darker skin, but the melanin is mostly from native populations that were in Latin and South America. So when we are being like, oh, you honkies, like, it's not quite right. People in Spain are white. Like, we are white here. These are the colonizers, just like they were colonizers from England. So it was wild. And at one point in time, there was like a sign that was like, remember Che Guevara? And I was like, no. Che would not have been into this at all.
So funny. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then putting their maids in French maid outfits too. It's just, what a fucking, like, and you know what? I think one of my favorite things about our podcast episode is sort of like that I didn't think about going into it. That was very much a thing that I think Annie sort of brought to it, was like, the idea that like these three different worlds are sort of like these distilled encapsulations of almost like different genres and different types of Sliders episodes. And that first segment is like the worst kind of early Sliders episode, like distilled into like 15 minutes. It's incredible.
Yep. I also people who listen to Gimmicks very, very patiently may have remembered that I accidentally said that Jerry O'Connell was our favorite Slider, and Derek instantly told me that was not true. And I, in this second story where Jerry's playing like a savior white knight to save his little like high school fling, I was like, man, I hated Quinn. I don't know. Was he supposed to be the self-insert though? Is that why maybe as a child I had more?
Yeah. Oh,
or I had a crush on Jerry O'Connell. Like.
Absolutely the self-insert. We wanted to be the young genius who discovered something cool, and he was like put in the hero position. I think that one of the things you can really track with this show is Quinn's role in it, and how the show changes is Quinn's role in it, because in, the first season, he's very like, they embrace like, oh, he's a nerdy scientist. He's socially awkward. Like he like almost doesn't realize he's as hot as he is. And I think they played that up. Second season, they go a lot more into like, but he's kind of our hot hero. He's still a little bit awkward and young, but he is absolutely our hot romantic lead. And then the third season and fourth season, the third season, they go harder on action hero Quinn. And then the fourth season, he's like full on like Superman backstory. They retcon for him, like savior of planets, action hero. Meanwhile, Jerry O'Connell is like more bored than he's ever been on screen ever, to the point that it's like, I'm glad you're gone in season 5. I think season 5 is an improvement over season 4 because they lose Jerry O'Connell and have to be more creative with their storytelling. That's always been my hot take about Sliders, because that dude was checked out halfway through the series. But yeah, no, probably out of the original 4, my least favorite, actually.
Yeah. And it's funny because my dad was like a huge Sliders fan. So I was like, oh, well, I think Sabrina Lloyd is hot because I'm gay. Yeah. Did my dad have a thing for Sabrina Lloyd? And I will tell you, Derek, then I went through and reread Wikipedia, and no, it was that like super hot woman who got introduced in season 3, Maggie.
Oh, Maggie, yeah.
The soldier.
Carrie Wersch, who is, she's kind of a weird person in real life and has a bad history with the show, but is a character that does, I think, like her introduction sucks and she blows in her first season, but then she improves vastly when they kind of mellow her out and figure out, and she stops just being like the boobs, you know?
Yeah. But I will tell you, those boobs were introduced for my father.
Yeah, and that character was introduced boob first. Like,
yeah, sorry, dude. That sucks for you, though, as an actor.
Yeah.
Like, that sucks. But don't get me wrong, it wasn't like you and I weren't lusting after Arturo.
Oh, absolutely.
Before we even understood what that meant. Yeah.
I wish that he was introduced boobs first. I would have enjoyed that.
Well, in this episode, he falls onto some... No. So that was the other thing, is that the film order and the release order were all messed up.
Mess. Such a fucking mess, yeah.
So the total legal way that I watched this made it very confusing as to which episode I was actually watching, because it listed them in production order, but then when you actually clicked into the episode, it was air order.
Oh, that sucks. Oh my God.
And so I watched like 10 minutes of an episode and I was like, I don't think this is right. I think they're supposed to be in Spain. And it was the one where like young people are in control and middle-aged people are like, it was a good episode. I know. I was like, I like that
episode a lot. That episode's a fucking wild, fascinating episode. Yeah.
The other thing I've got to say though, and I say this with love in my heart before we get to the actual gimmick, Jerry O'Connell in this episode is wearing a flannel that either you, I, or both of us own. And it was very distracting. I was like, oh my God, the 90s. And like, are Derek and I stuck in the 90s for our fashion?
Yeah, absolutely. I've definitely I would never call myself a grunge guy by like any stretch of the imagination, but that aspect of the aesthetic, just the like flannel for all seasons for every outfit and every occasion, that's very me. Absolutely.
I mean, Jerry O'Connell is wearing like a 3XL on his like medium body. So
my goodness gracious.
It's very 90s.
He really is.
Of course, the gimmick of the episode is that they don't usually do different time. It's part of Quinn's whole shtick at the introduction, which again, thank you, Sliders, because like I deal with the multiverse all the time now in media consumption, and like Sliders set me up for success.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is that we're dealing with time moving forward, and I thought that the episode told this story really well, and I loved hearing you and Annie break this down because it was like so cool. The conversations that you had, and I was vibing so hard on this conversation.
Yeah. No, this is definitely, it was an early one. This is only the 7th episode of Gimmicks that we made, and it still, I think, is one of my favorites, like very high up there by a wide margin. I think it came out really good. I was really happy to do it. And I enjoyed listening back to it. I think that it also is one of those types of episodes that I love doing on this podcast, where it's like a show that is under talked about in the way that we would talk about TV. That like a lot of people remember Sliders, people aren't podcasting about it. So like that is like stuff like Sliders and like So Weird. And like I have one that I'm pitching to you for our next season, as well. That's like in that sort of wavelength where it's sort of like this show doesn't get talked about, but the people who remember it really remember it and will be excited to hear someone talking about it in like an in-depth critical way in retrospect. This was absolutely in that vein. And I don't know, there's probably Sliders podcasts you can find out there. I don't know that any of them talked about this episode in the way that we did, in how it deals with like love and human connection and like how that ties into fate and time and stuff like that.
Yeah. And the So Weird parable is also a really nice parable. Connection is a really nice one because every website that celebrates the fandom of Sliders and So Weird all look like they were written with the same like early 2000s HTML coding. And I think that's like so appropriate and so beautiful, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think there's been any news that has come out about this show since then. There's still no reboot or anything like that, which honestly at this point surprises me. Actually, we talk about it in the episode. Like, I'm not sure exactly what I would want to see of that, but I'm not surprised that people still clamor for it, and I would not be surprised if it happens. And I am a little bit surprised that there's not been any development talks outside of like Jerry O'Connell being like, pay me some money so I can do this, guys.
Yeah. Honestly, the way to go is pay Jerry O'Connell some young Sheldon money, retell the story, and just have him do it in voiceover. And not actually be in the show.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, I'm positive Sabrina Lloyd would just be a hard no unless they offered her a huge paycheck. Clavant Derricks, I don't even know.
I'm really glad that you brought up Clavant. I saw Clavant. Sorry to take you off, but
No, go for
I
it.
saw Clavant be the wizard from The Wizard of Oz in Wicked when it toured in Denver.
Whoa, really?
And I was so delighted, but his bio did not mention that he was on Sliders. It listed a lot of other TV credits.
But I wonder, I mean, because he obviously like loved being on it at the time, and for context for listeners, was the only
one who was
actor
on
who
it.
stayed on for all 5 seasons. He's the only guy who's in every episode, which is fucking. If you watch the pilot, it's like that's the guy that sticks around the entire time. And he's great. He's really good in it. But I also wouldn't be surprised if like in retrospect, maybe he's like not as proud of it as he is many other things that he's done. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, he's like a Tony Award. I mean, he's gone on. He's to be like a Tony Award winner and stuff. Like he's had one of the better careers out of the 4 of them, kind of quietly, honestly, like one of the best careers, I would say.
Yeah.
So I would be curious if he would be willing to come back, or if he'd just be like, I'm good. I don't know. I truly don't know.
I got it, guys. I got it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, right. I don't know. And then John Rhys Davies, I mean, I think for him, it's kind of a battle of like, are you going to get him before he dies or not? I think that he would be willing at this point with certain caveats probably, but he has been open about wanting to do it again. But again, I don't think I want a show that even if they could get I guess if they somehow managed to get all 4 of them back on screen together, I would be there for it and really interested to see what that looks like, because it would have to be like they would have had to make a really good pitch and spend a lot of money to get them back. But I cannot imagine NBC Universal would spend that much time and money to reunite them.
No.
And no matter what, at the end of the day, I think this show, we talk about on the episode, this show really, the way that it works the best, it lives and dies on its concept. And I think you can just apply that concept to like a just new version of Sliders with new characters and a different storyline that's similar. And you can nail it and just play into the multiverse trend that's still happening right now.
Yeah, or do it later and just be like one of those shows that comes on TV, has a beloved little section of weirdos, and 20 years later, we'll cover it on the podcast again. Like,
right.
It'd be great.
There you go.
Well, folks, imagine your own strange clocks distorted as we jump back in time to listen to this conversation between Derek and Annie Fish to talk about Sliders episode As Time Goes By.
Hey, what's going on?
You've changed the future. You've ripped a hole in the fabric of time. God knows what the consequences will be.
What could it mean?
In layman's terms, I fear tomorrow may no longer exist.
Wow.
Welcome to Gimmicks, a podcast about the high-concept, experimental, structure-breaking gimmick episodes of TV, from musicals to noirs to 3 interconnected short stories about love, fate, and time. I'm Derek B. Gale, and who's with me today?
I am Annie Fish, tonight with you.
Yes. Hey, Annie, how would you react if you saw a hole in the sky because your actions resulted in the destruction of the fabric of space and time?
I would almost certainly say, wow.
Yep.
And nothing else.
And nothing else, and then never mention it ever again.
Nope.
We are talking about the truly bizarre but wonderful episode of the science fiction series Sliders, Season 2, Episode 13, entitled As Time Goes By. Before we dig into it, just real quick, if you're listening and are unfamiliar with the show Sliders, it was a science fiction series created by Tracy Torme and Robert K. Weiss that ran from 1995 to 2000 for 3 seasons on Fox and 2 seasons on Sci-Fi Channel for 5 total. In short, it follows Quinn Mallory, played by Jerry O'Connell, who's a young scientist who invents a portable device that, just opens a wormhole and allows you to slide to a parallel universe, which is described as same time, same planet, but different dimension. follows he and 3 other travelers, his best friend Wade, who's played by Sabrina Lloyd, his grad school professor Max Arturo, played by John Rhys-Davies, and musician and accidental stowaway Rembrandt Brown, played by Tony winner Clavant Derricks, who all unfortunately lost the coordinates of their home world and thus have to slide to a new parallel world, each episode with a specific time limit before they can slide into the next world in search of home. Very notable for lots of behind-the-scenes drama, lots of cast and creator changes. It's virtually unrecognizable by the end, constantly on the bubble of cancellation. It was canceled like 4 times or something.
Yeah, literally after every gosh darn season, it was canceled.
Yeah, it's wild. The production stuff of this show is truly wild to read about, and as a result, the show itself is often very wild and very weird, but it still has a pretty passionate and devoted fan base. It always has had one. Always petitions or talk among people for reviving it or whatever. So it's always been in the zeitgeist in some way, even in a small way. But before we go any more deeply into it, Annie, what is your personal history with Sliders?
My personal history with Sliders is, well, I guess I'll start with the personal one before I get professional.
Sure.
Obviously, I was aware of it when it was on television originally, but I did not quite watch it outside of having a distinct memory of seeing it. I think the same night, gosh darn, Princess Diana died. It was that, and then The Pretender. Wow. I remember those 2 shows. Big TV in the 90s. I enjoyed it a lot then, but got back into it when it was being rerun on the Sci-Fi Channel in the late 90s, right before it ended. Mm-hmm. And I returned to it after many years in 2012. And at that time, I thought maybe it would be funny if I made a blog about it. And I did. It was called Think of a Roulette Wheel. It was it started as a comic blog, sort of like screen cap and funny caption kind of style humor, which was fine for what it was. But the more I watched the show, the more it got really intense, and I found wild themes of loss and friendship and cynicism. And along the way, the blog became fairly well known, at least in the Sliders community. It was kind of a big deal. I have to say, I don't think it's not
for sure.
It's not a brag. It just happened. You were a gosh darn commenter on the blog.
I was,
which is hilarious.
It's a great blog. It's one that I've revisited many times. Anytime I watch, like, I haven't done like a full watch through of the show in probably like 15 years or something. Ooh. But anytime I like will randomly watch an episode, I'm like, I want to reread the blog posts for that.
It's a good habit to get into. That's me. Currently, I'm making this blog into a book. I'm almost finished. There will be a book version of Think of a Roulette Wheel, perhaps even by the end of this year.
Oh, nice.
So look forward to that if you've ever heard or thought of the show Sliders.
Oh, I'm so excited. I think like your takes are always really fascinating, I think, because this is one of those shows that I feel like the majority of like the fan base behind it is a lot more typical nerdery of just like the mechanics of how the science fiction rules work and stuff like that. Like, does this make sense or not? And what I really appreciated about a lot of your writing about it was just looking often into like the larger themes and like following the characterization that I don't know that a lot of other people who are writing about the show really paid as much attention to. And
no,
because you know,
yeah. Well,
yeah. And
especially
because I think because there's so much wild production stuff behind the scenes, the way that ends up being reflected on the show kind of maybe even accidentally creates a lot of really interesting pervading themes that are worth analyzing because that's the text that we have, you know?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think it's fun to do that with this show, which also is controversially, I will say, not great a lot of the time.
Sure.
Obviously I love it clearly as I've devoted too much of my life to it, but it definitely falls into that realm of bad TV. And it's exciting kind of to see, to watch bad TV and be like, oh man, that might actually be about something. And you're right that I
Yeah.
think that, you know, a lot of fandom doesn't invest that much into that kind of stuff. They're more just, as I understand, as I'll say, orthodox Sliders fandom right now. They're very, it's just sort of like they love the show, no changes, bring it back, bring the cast.
Yeah.
That's all they're about, you know.
Sure.
And I'm
Sure.
a little bit like, is that really what you want? Think about it. Think this through.
Yeah. No, same here. It's like whenever I see people posting like, wow, Sliders is like the best sci-fi show ever, bring it back. I'm like, how far are you into your rewatch right now? Like, are you literally just in like 5 episodes in? Because you might change your mind after a while.
Did you just watch the pilot? In which case, sure, I'm with you. Did you watch any more than that? I don't know, man.
Yeah. It is a really fascinating show to look back on, I think, for those reasons. Like, because for me, I think I was really young when it came out, but I'm pretty sure that I was there from day one. Like, I think I remember watching the pilot and watching most of the Fox years, I think, pretty consistently as it was airing. But I feel like it was also like maybe one of the first shows that even as a kid, I sort of recognized like, I love this, but something that I love is often not great. And I often don't particularly like it, but I still love it. And that's a weird thing to understand.
Right. To come to terms with that, to, you know, make that into a circle inside yourself. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. That you can sort of love things that are flawed and messy and recognize that, but still like have love for it, you know? And I think that was a very early sort of reconciliation with me. And I think that almost made the show even more compelling to me because it's sort of like I can see how things could be better. And that actually makes me kind of excited to be able to see that in something.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's also so bad that it turns into... It's also so bad. I'm saying it like I absolutely hate the show. It gets to that point where it becomes like unhinged camp
Yep.
as well. And you get a lot of enjoyment out of just like, you know...
That's true.
It gets sort of like original series Star Trek levels of like, really, you did this, you know?
Yeah.
Like you think of like
Yeah.
Cat's Paw from your original series, you know, like it's like the Halloween episode, and you're like, why is there a cat here? Like, what's going on with Star Trek? And Sliders is the same
Right.
thing, you know. There's like, here's an episode with, but everyone's Egyptian, and you're like, oh, okay.
There's literally a CGI scarab, but also there's like wild shit that happens in that one too. That's like emotionally effective.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, it's
yeah.
about the loss and coming to terms with the end of a friendship.
Stay tuned for scenes from the next Sliders.
Sliders is brought to you by Johnson's Clean and Clear skincare products for skin that's clean, beautifully clear, and under control. Clean and clear and under control.
Meet Quinn Mallory.
Is that the same shirt you had on yesterday?
I gotta fly.
In school,
You're supposed to be the brightest of the bright, the best there is.
he's a dreamer.
Mr. Mallory, you might at least do me the courtesy to pretend that you're listening to me.
At work, he's a slacker.
I'm not that late.
The man just fired you.
But in his basement laboratory,
My attempt to create the world's first anti-gravity device has taken a bizarre turn. Anti-grav, something else, definitely.
he's a scientific genius.
Oh my God, you solved it. A parallel universe is a theoretical concept.
It gets better. A lot better.
You mean that we can just like slide through this and boom, we're on another planet?
No, same planet, different dimension.
Now, he and 3 unlikely friends are about to pass through a portal to a parallel dimension.
I think I've just seen God, and I could have sworn he was driving a Cadillac.
Where everything is unreal.
How really did things over?
Anything is possible.
What did you do, honey? Forget something?
Mom, look at you.
And each time the clock strikes 0, a new adventure begins.
Who are you? Isn't it obvious? I'm you.
Wild, huh?
I once stepped onto an Earth where there's no crime or hate. No one was afraid there, Quinn.
Welcome to the revolution.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Sliders.
You're gonna love sliding.
Wednesday at 9, 8 Central.
It's fascinating show. And I think for me also, it was one of the first shows that I really dove deeply into learning the production of a show too, like the behind the scenes stuff, like really actively researched it, because I think it's reflected so evidently on screen when you're watching. Like if you can tell like, oh, something's different here, something changed, and I want to know what changed and why. And it's very easy to fall into the rabbit hole of like, oh, lots of awful things happened and lots of awful people were involved. Interesting.
Yeah, oh, that's so great. Well, the other thing that's interesting about it is that there is that history, and it is easier than a lot of shows to look up. You know, people actually did the work as it was on, as it was off, you know, the last 30 years of keeping track of this, of making this information readily available, which is also super interesting that it's this of all shows. You know, you can't do this with Mantis, you know? You can't do this with The Sentinel.
Yeah. Part of it maybe because you have like John Rhys Davies, who is not afraid of being very outspoken about how much he hated things. So it's like you have people talking about it maybe.
A little too much, yeah. But then you also have, you know, producers who in recent years are more willing to be like, John Rhys Davies is full of butt. You know,
yeah,
so
very interesting.
Nice to, yeah. It is definitely an interesting history of a show. It's like a case example of like, oh, how hard it is to get a show made, for starters.
Oh, for sure.
And just the day-to-day trials and tribs of you know, making it happen.
Yeah. I mean, this episode is kind of one of those pieces of that, right? Because it was the last episode aired in the second season, so for like a short period, this was the accidental series finale because it was canceled.
Exactly.
Brought back again, you know.
Well, even with that, this episode was supposed to air like fourth in the second season.
I think it was.
It's maybe six, yeah, somewhere near the beginning. And Fox, the network it was on, it was just like, I don't know what to do with this. Let's keep pushing it back. I can't deal with. I don't want to look at it like fingers in their ears, kind of like.
right.
So
and like. Yeah, so they ended up pushing it back till not just like the end of the season, but it was like 2 weeks after Invasion aired, which is like I think was the intended season finale.
Yeah,
and like
for sure.
You could argue feels a lot more like a season finale. So it's like 2 weeks. It's like deep until July that this episode airs, and like I'm not going to like side with the executives or anything, but I also like don't really blame them not getting this episode because it is a truly, truly bizarre episode of television, just like flat out in general.
To quote Rembrandt Brown in the pilot, that trip was a trip. One could say after watching this episode.
For sure. Yeah. So like trying to nail down what the sort of gimmick of this episode is, basically, it's kind of a couple of different things. On one hand, it's structured very interestingly in a way that I actually really like a lot, because the normal formula for this show is that the characters slide onto a world, have an adventure, slide off at the end, episode is over. This episode splits that into these 3 interlocked segments across 3 totally different worlds, but also involving the same supporting characters, and each one revolving around Quinn trying and failing to reconnect with the alternate universe double of his old high school love, Dalen. And so we sort of get this already off, before we even get to the sci-fi aspect of it, this already kind of interesting, very different structure for the show that it never does again either.
No, but it absolutely, I think it should have. It's perfect for the concept of the show. To sort of revisit similar things. Like you have that in the toolkit, and this episode is more or less the only one that even tries to be so structurally interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing about it too is that like at least the first and third segment of this episode, those 2 worlds, I could have seen like full episodes of those concepts.
Oh, absolutely. The first one especially just feels like the most like sliders by numbers, dull sort of romp against time kind of idea.
What if white people were the oppressed ones?
Oh my God.
It's like, I'm like thankful that that's only devoted to a few minutes of an episode rather than the whole one.
Oh yeah. It was getting pretty wild. Some of those lines about like, man, I sure miss America. It's like, do you, man? Come on, leave that out of here.
Yep. Am I surprised? Not at all.
Yeah. Clinton years, jingoism. I love it. I'm living for it. That's all I want out of my 90s TV.
Exactly. The other thing, like the third segment of the episode is also probably the highlight, and another one that I would have been interested to see how Sliders would have tried to pull off a full hour episode of this concept, but I also don't think that they could have pulled it off.
I mean, considering how arguably poorly they pull it off, even in this episode.
I'm willing to forgive it. Just because the concept is so wild, because basically the third segment is that it's backwards time world where they had this sort of adventure. It's a whole murder story, but basically you're playing these events in reverse, but through brief chunks, kind of like a la like Harold Pinter's The Betrayal, except in this case, like the sliders are aware that the things are going backwards and try to like affect things.
Right.
Which is a truly brilliant idea for an episode of this show.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. I think it's also the second kind of gimmick, because one of the rules of sliding is that it's never time travel. They say that over and over again. And yet this isn't quite time travel, but they also do, there's some time shenanigans going on. It stretches the idea of what a dimension can be so far that it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah. And I love that. Actually, I think that's like, I've always felt like the second season of this show is my favorite season, even though I don't think it's the best or strongest season, but I think it's ultimately my favorite one because I do think out of all of them, it's the one that I think hits the right vibe for me of taking these weird sci-fi swings where they sort of take the kernel of a sci-fi concept and like don't do like the technobabble stuff that they end up doing in like season 4 and 5, but also are still grounded enough that you have like astral plane episodes and your dinosaurs and then you have something like this where it's sort of like you have the kernel of like a realistic science fiction idea that they probably wouldn't do in the first season. And if you're not going to be doing like political and social satire, I'm here for your sort of interesting sci-fi experiments instead.
Absolutely. But I think what the other difference in season 2 versus later more sci-fi seasons is that the later seasons will do their sci-fi thing and that's the joy of it to them. Sure. I don't think it's joyful, but like their joy is just, what's the weirdest hard sci-fi thing we can do? But in season 2, it's more like, what is the weirdest sci-fi thing we can do that moves our characters somewhere? It's always tied into what people are feeling. Maybe it's the guest star who has an emotional arc. Maybe it's Quinn, as it is in this episode. But more often than not in season 2, I think it does a great job of sort of melding the weird bonkos concepts with some sort of like heartfelt emotional journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What if you could find brand new worlds where anything is possible? Same planet, different dimension.
Cross over to the other side. Sliders. Get the complete first 2 seasons on DVD.
That's the entrance to a wormhole that runs between worlds.
That is so cool.
Take the slide of your life.
Each time you slide, you're spinning the wheel, never knowing where the ball will come up.
Sliders. Own the complete first 2 seasons in a special DVD collector set today.
What a world.
This episode, one thing that I've always been curious about, and I've never really been able to get to find a solid answer, is just like exactly where the idea for this one really fully came from, because it's so specific and unique, like the way it all came together and the way that they talk about it. Like, it sounds like this was the idea of Steve Brown, who's the writer, at least the way that Torme has talked about it in interviews before, where it's just like, he had an idea for an episode based on the theories of Stephen Hawking, and we didn't really understand the concept, but he seemed like he loved it. So we were like, sure, let's go for it.
It's so weird that they accepted that pitch.
Right.
I mean, good on them, but I probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, because like, how the fuck do you do that story? And it's like, the answer is like, you just do it in a very strange way, but sure.
Yeah.
And I guess like, again, they weren't specific about it, but reading between the lines of things that Torme said, like the way that he talks about it, it's like, I ended up liking it because it's the same woman on 3 different worlds. Quinn has 3 different shots at it. So he thinks he's going to set it right and be with her, but something goes wrong each time. So like, I'm guessing the way that they sort of try to figure out how to navigate the backwards time story is sort of like, well, let's find some other very super basic, kind of relatable story to ground it in, I guess. Quinn has a crush on a girl and wants to get with her. Cool. Everybody can get that, I guess. Whatever.
it is funny that it's like on paper you can absolutely distill this episode to that. It's just Quinn sees his old flame, wants to mac, tries to mac, strike out 3 times. And you know, it's interesting how the sort of quote unquote failure comes about, you know, for him to not mac, as it were. I mean, you know, it's going to be like that anyway. Jerry O'Connell, young, hot, I guess, leading man. Mm-hmm. He's good looking. I'm not trying to dunk on Jerry in the 90s. Come on. You know, he's a leading man. You've cast an absurdly beautiful young woman in terms of 90s television for your guest star. You're going to have to make them mac, right? Yeah. That's what happens on network TV. Of course. But it never quite works. And in the first part, in the sort of what if Spain owned San Francisco world, it doesn't work because, well, it's kind of weirdly complicated in the first one because they're like, they're trying to escape Spanish ice and it goes wrong because her boyfriend sold their rescue effort out so she could get a green card. This is what when I said it's like the first part is like extremely Sliders by numbers.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about. So many episodes are, here's a world, the entire world is represented by the local government of Southern California, and we have to either overthrow it or just run for 45 minutes.
Yep.
And as they're running, Quinn is unable to sort of convince this woman to come slide with them because, you know, her brother's been shot. Everything's gone wrong. He can't do it. So that's it. That one's interesting because that's like, okay, that's like a tiny episode in full, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the second part, Rembrandt is like, oh man, I know you're feeling it in your heart, my guy. You know, he's trying to be like a good wingman, which seems, it's so funny how aggressive Rembrandt is about like, you should just call her, bro. Quinn's like, I don't know, man. But he does. He goes to Dalen's house, and it's her and a double of her fiance on the last world. So it's the same people, but this time he's like a drunk, abusive ding dong, right?
Yeah.
And she's got a baby, and so he can't take them. He can't take her with him because she's got a gosh darn baby. Like, imagine yeeting a baby through the vortex, right? You couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's where it's interesting to me in this second world, is that obviously he, again, quote unquote, fails to, you know, win, right? That's how the episode kind of frames it. Like, he's still upset that he didn't get what he wants.
Yeah. It's really, this episode I think is so fascinating to me because a lot of it on paper is just like, oh, this sounds weird and creepy and gross and strange, and I don't think I like it. But I do think that it's sort of the odd ways in which it's executed on screen. Like, I don't feel like you really feel that unless you're really thinking about it. And I think because it is just so compelling to sort of see the story told in such in kind of an unorthodox way, you know, that it ends up feeling a lot less weird. And I don't know that I've ever watched this and became like super emotionally invested in Quinn's journey. Cause like, obviously he's not gonna get the girl, but it's still interesting to see it happen, to see it unfold.
Absolutely. You know? But I think what starts to happen with the second section is that in my reading, and obviously I am notorious for overreading this show, but you think about what he actually does. He gets Dalen, this woman, out of her abuser. She out from his clutches. Like, he saves her life in a very materially, like, real way. And that's incredible, right? Like, we all want this to happen for people who are in that situation.
Sure.
And yet he's still like, oh man, couldn't take her, you know? He's bummed out. And I think this is like kind of what this episode is getting at.
Yeah.
It's getting at, like, why are you, like, sliding is not just wish fulfillment my dude.
Yeah, I love that reading. I think it really checks out, especially by the end of it. So let's actually we're already digging into the episode anyway. So I'm gonna just transition us into doing the whole play-by-play of the episode itself.
All right, get it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
What if you could travel to parallel worlds? The same year, the same Earth, only different dimensions. A world where the Russians rule America. Or where your dreams of being superstar came true. Or where San Francisco was a maximum security prison. My friends and I found the gateway. Now the problem is finding a way back home.
So if you want to watch the series along with us, it is available for streaming on Peacock, and it's also available on DVD. I often pull the IMDb synopsis for these episodes when I do them. And it's always interesting because a lot of times, especially for these sort of high concept episodes, the IMDb description is like just bananas or doesn't get it.
Is this one just like the shrug emoji?
Oh, in this case, IMDb doesn't even try to have a synopsis. It's just a giant paragraph that recaps everything. And I don't feel like reading all of that. I found an even better one because the Wikipedia synopsis for this one clearly has no fucking idea what to do with this episode. So per Wikipedia, the synopsis for this episode is: the Sliders get involved with doubles of the same group of people on 3 different worlds, including the double of Dalen, a high school girlfriend of Quinn. In one of the worlds, time is moving in the opposite direction, causing them to be in prison for her murder, then taken to their arraignment before being set free.
Yeah, that really goes a little too in deep on the last part.
Yeah. They don't know what to do with it.
I mean, who does?
Yeah. Yep. It's a hard episode to describe. The original air date was July 12th, 1996. It was written, like I said, by Steve Brown. Notably, in addition to writing some pretty good episodes of this show, also wrote on Cagney and Lacey, Diagnosis Murder, and Wolf's Turf.
Wolf's Turf?
Have no idea what that is.
Who named that? Who allowed the phrase Wolf's Turf to be on television?
Know, but it's awful. Hate it.
Man, R.I.P. Wolf's Turf. F's in the chat for Wolf's Turf.
The episode was directed by Richard Compton, who directed episodes of this show all the way through the 5th season, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Also directed on Miami Vice, Babylon 5, Profile or X-Files, and a whole bunch of similar genre shows of the time.
A king.
Right? For real. I think it's also worth noting that since she's a prominent character in this, Dalen is played by an actress that's had some regular roles and stuff. It's Brooke Langton. She did go on to have a regular role in Melrose Place. And then she was also the lead in the TV adaptation of the movie The Net that I didn't know ever existed.
Uh-oh. I want to watch this.
She's literally like Sandra Bullock's character in that show. I just like, when did that happen? I don't know.
That makes sense. I buy that. I could see that.
Yeah. She has that. I mean, she's like good in this episode. She doesn't have like much of a character, really. Like,
well, yeah, because she's
just being.
Yeah, because she has to do it 3 different ways, and so there's not a lot to like grip onto.
Yeah, so like it makes sense, but she does good with what with what she's given. All things considered. Like I said, we digged into it a bit already, but this first segment is República de Nueva España, which is basically if the Spanish took over Northern California at some point in history. Like you said, it's sort of like, what if white people were actually oppressed illegal immigrants?
It's one of those moments in the show that is just reads so much differently today.
It really does. It so does. It's like, it's not as bad as I think it could have been, or that I'm expecting revisiting it. It's still like weird and like kind of uncomfortable and also just sort of laughable. But I'm again glad this wasn't a full episode because it could have been so much worse.
Well, yeah, absolutely. There are certain things that are interesting about it because it's one of the only times, maybe the only time, they go to an Earth where like English isn't the first language.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I think that gives it points because I mean, if you think about it, it's like, well, why would it be English?
Yeah.
Most of the time, Like that feels like the first thing to change if you're rolling dice on alternate history.
Yeah.
So this does have that, you know, obviously there's not really a world to it. It's just sort of like cogs to get the story going.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in this world, like the sliders at the beginning of the episode are like working as day laborers trying to get some cash before they slide to the next one. Immigration police show up, so everybody except for Quinn basically gets wrangled to be deported to Canada, which in this world is like, I guess, the country of like extreme poverty or something, or at least that's what they say it is.
They love to make fun of Canada on this gosh darn show.
They really do.
They're just like, oh, Canada, who would want to be caught dead in Canada? It's like, you right now filming the show in Vancouver? I don't know.
I want to go home, Rembrandt. I don't want to spend the rest of my life in Canada.
You think I do? It's wet, it's cold.
Canada gets it hard in this one. It's
yeah,
like,
it really does.
Guys, come on.
Yeah, lay off that. I mean, I guess, again, it's better that they make fun of Canada than, like, make fun of Spain, probably. So,
yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
So take your battles.
For sure. But yeah, Quinn escapes. He's injured, stumbles his way to this wealthy estate where he encounters his high school sweetheart, Dalen, who's implied as a maid. Who's employed as a
strongly implied to be a maid by her.
If you couldn't tell from her
outfit. Her like spirit Halloween maid outfit.
Oh jeez.
How did you know my name? Out in the yard you said Dalen.
We kind of grew up together. Went to the same school till you left in 10th grade.
I think you really must have hit your head. Anyway, I never had much time for classes.
The backstory is basically that Dalen, on Earth Prime, Dalen was Quinn's childhood friend that he like apparently dated for a short time in high school before she moved away in 10th grade. And he's always kind of had a flame for her. It is like such an interesting reminder of like how young Quinn and I guess Wade too are supposed to be in this show, that like,
yeah,
I always forget like, oh, you're a grad student. You're only like 23 or something.
Yeah. I think that is about how old they are.
Yeah.
Which is, well, it's funny because that's both very young at this point to me watching this show, but also like they act like teenagers all the time. They act like such idiots.
That's true.
These two, like Jerry O'Connell is, you know, as someone yells at him, a hot idiot.
It's so true. Yeah. Yeah. It is just so interesting because I guess watching like a primetime Fox show that isn't like a teen soap and they're talking about their like flame from 10th grade. It's just like, I wouldn't want to reconnect with anybody that I had a crush on in 10th grade.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
totally
buddy,
right.
sure.
Right. Oh my gosh. He's like, yeah. Well, it's also that kind of like that wonderful television thing of like, well, suddenly I'm thinking about someone I've never talked about before. Right. But obviously they meant a lot to me.
Mm-hmm. And we'll never mention ever again.
Nope, never. No, absolutely not.
But on this world, Dalen has never met him. She doesn't know a Quinn on this world. So she helps him recover, hides him from her employers, and he learns that her fiance Dennis was actually there during the raid, and so that means that he was swept up by immigration with his friends, and they're all going to be deported to Canada together. So Quinn and Dalen kind of have this sort of mutual connection now. Quinn tells Dalen that he's from a parallel universe. He just like tells her
God, so fast,
and she's just like, I don't know why I believe you, but I do. And I'm like, I don't know why you believe him either. Okay,
is it the romantic firelight that they're having this like weird conversation by?
Right.
I come from a parallel Earth where time is the same, but the outcome of many events were different.
And in this other world, Spain lost the New World to the Anglos?
Yeah.
And all the people speak English?
California is part of the United States, the most powerful country in the world. I'm not expecting you to understand it, but everything I'm telling you is the truth. The point is, if we can save my friends, I can take you there.
I can't believe I'm buying this.
I do think it's notable that they make sure that they call out as he's describing parallel universes. He's like, and also time is the same on every world.
Oh. Yeah, remember that for later when we turn it on its head.
Right, exactly. But either way, he's only doing this because he's offering to take Dalen and, at her request, her fiance with them if they're able to rescue everybody.
Oh, yeah. To which he has a comical reaction of like rolling his entire head around like, yeah, sure, and Dennis too.
What about Dennis?
What about him?
Well, he's being deported to Canada. I can't just leave him here. He's everything in the world to me.
You help me. We'll see if we can save him too.
God, what a baby.
He's such a little ding dong. I mean, truly, a hot idiot right here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the point of this episode, and I love it. Yeah. So they conspire with Dalen's brother, Kit, who is played by Jerry's real life brother, Charlie O'Connell, who later kind of controversially joins the main cast as a different character later on. But that's a different story for a different time.
No. When this suddenly turns into a Bachelor podcast.
Oh, boy.
As he was once the Bachelor himself, Charlie O'Connell.
I actually did not even know
You didn't know that?
but
He's literally the Bachelor one season.
absolutely checks out, though, because what else is he doing?
Starring in an independent horror movie that adapts the Three Little Pigs. Called Huff. His name's Huff. He's the wolf. Charlie O'Connell just yelling at women for an hour and a half.
Oh, gee whiz. Cool.
So that's what he's doing, Charlie O'Connell. Now we've checked in on him, we can return to his first role as Kit, Dalen's bro.
Yeah. So they're working with him to basically intercept the deportation bus, and they're able to successfully do it with like an armed holdup.
It's so funny how quick it gets to like, we've got tons of guns. And you're like, what? Who are these people? Where did the guns come from? How is this organization so well put together and funded with weaponry?
Yeah, like fucking like full on assault rifles. It's hilarious. I do think that maybe like if you're watching this for the first time, I don't remember watching it for the first time, but this is probably like kind of the first clue that something weird is going on, because it's like, oh, we're already at sort of your Act 3 firefight climax this show likes.
Very true.
And we're like 10 minutes in or something.
It's plotted so breezy. What could happen now?
I know. So, everything seems good. There's guns, so everything's fine now, right? The prisoners are freed, but then reinforcements arrive, and it's revealed that Dennis somehow sold everyone out and told immigration the plan. I don't really understand how all that works.
The logistics of that are a little fuzzy. Like, how did he know? I mean, did he plan to get deported? Oh, maybe he planned to get deported.
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
I mean, I guess. If this is an entire episode, I'm sure you would have had that scene.
Yeah.
However, it is not. And so all we learn is Dennis sucks.
You did this, you son of a bitch!
Dennis!
No, I had to, Dale, and they promised me a green card so we could get married!
There's a shootout that ensues. Kit gets shot right as the vortex opens. And so Quinn's like, come with me, Dalen, so we can kiss each other. And Dalen's like, no, my brother's going to die. I have to stay here. So
and he's like, but kisses, though. Like, right? I'm so sorry about your brother.
So they leave. And that's strike one for Quinn and Dalen.
Oh, man. It is so funny how, like, immediately kind of heartless he is. In that moment, he's like, come on, babe, just like come with me through this vortex.
Yeah. Right.
And she's like literally holding her like dying brother. And it's like, my dude.
I know.
A read of the room.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Maybe I guess it's been a very long time since he's been laid, and it's just having.
That's not even true. Only 5 episodes earlier, he has sex with that woman on the planet where there are no men.
Yeah.
So he's doing fine.
That's right. Yeah, come on, dude. You have literally no excuses whatsoever.
That's true. But this is his it's Dalen, his flame.
Yeah.
He's been holding this candle for 5 years.
There's a few like things that in this segment I think are particularly funny. Like I didn't mention, but like you do get a brief clip of like the trial that the other three are having before they're being deported. But what I think is hilarious about it is that like their lawyer is trying very hard and is really sympathizing with them.
Oh yeah.
And they give her they are just like, no, we have no reason for doing anything. She's like, are you fleeing the country for a particular reason? Like, is it not safe to go back there? Like, she doesn't know.
Gotta be something I can use in your defense.
Did you come here because of political persecution from Canada?
Of course not.
Would it be dangerous for you to go back?
No, not really.
Gotta help me out here.
Madam, I'm professor of cosmology and ontology at the University of
Mr. Arturo, but you were looking for work as a day laborer, okay?
And they're just like, no, it's all fine. And I'm like, y'all aren't even gonna like try to lie or anything. Like, you're just letting this happen. Right,
yeah,
whatever.
it definitely feels like they know that they're gonna get rescued. They're just, but you know,
Yeah.
why would you in this case? I know you
Yeah.
always do.
Yeah,
but
I guess they're like, we've been through this we've been in court and been arrested so many times at this point. Like, Quinn's gonna rescue us and it'll be fine.
It
always is.
It is embarrassing how true that statement is. They are always in court somehow.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I feel like if I was sliding, I'd get arrested way less. But
I would certainly try.
I know. Yeah, they're just. I mean, this episode in particular, at least in the beginning, like I love Arturo as a character, probably mostly because I like had a crush. He was like my first non-cartoon character crush ever, to be fair. But it is like often reminded like, oh no, this dude is a fucking huge dick a lot of the time.
Oh man, he's a monster. He's a gosh darn monster.
He really is. And even in this one, like, dude's like causing a scene and like being like, he's just being so mean to everyone that they're on the street corner with in the same situation.
Kind of nippy out here, eh? Reminds me of Vancouver.
Another computer whiz looking for an opening in the Silicon Valley.
Professor.
Why you disrespecting me, bro? We're all in this together.
I am not your sibling, sir. For which I thank God and good breeding.
Just calm down. Stop screaming all the time, and you'd get arrested less.
Right, it's true. I wonder what the percentage of Sliders plots would have not happened if Arturo had just not called someone a blistering idiot.
Exactly. Any other thoughts on this particular segment before we move on to the next one?
On Nueva España,
yeah,
it's interesting how it's interesting how slight it is in the long term. It really only exists to sort of tune your eye to pay attention to the presence of Dennis Dalen and to a lesser extent the lawyer and the judge, who also return in the last segment.
Yeah, I think it's smart because like we were saying, it's sort of like you get this sort of micro episode, like the most formulaic Sliders episode in the first, handful of minutes of the episode, just to get all of these pieces set up on the board to have you paying attention to certain things without it being a thing that matters at all, which I think is actually a very brilliant way to write that.
It is true. Yeah, it is funny that you can just like use like an empty outline of a Sliders episode to set up a more loftier goal. So it's impressive.
Right.
It's impressive. It's workmanlike, but it's impressive.
Right. So the next world they land on is like a super normal one. Like the only difference is just the name of the football team is different.
Oh yeah,
pretty much.
San Francisco Lions, baby.
But I find it kind of fun because the interest in this segment has nothing to do with the world and is very character centric instead. So there's only a few hours on this world. Quinn is feeling all weird and sad about finding and losing Dalen again.
He's not worried about the guy that he watched get gunned down. No.
Right.
He's not upset about that.
Like death number 1 out of many that he doesn't care about in this episode.
If you think about it, if it's Dalen's brother, right? It's a double Dalen's brother who gets shot. Like, he probably knew that guy on his world, right? If he knew,
he references that he recognized him when he sees them. Yeah,
and he's not even like, oh man, that guy is dead. It's too bad. He's like, didn't mac.
Right. It's like there's no trauma here at all.
No.
Oh, okay, sure.
Quinn is so funny about his like feeling bad about it too. Like Rembrandt tries to be like, I remember You know, he shares like a personal story of his own, Rembrandt.
I know exactly what you mean. When I was little Rembrandt and the Chandels, there was this backup singer, Violet. Man, she had my mind night and day. Only problem was I was 17 and I think she was about 29. Your heart can sure play tricks on you, I tell you.
This is worse than that.
Quinn is just like, no, this is worse. I'm sorry.
He's such a dick. Like, I actually really like Rembrandt a lot in this episode because, like, I mean, he doesn't really know the reality of what's going on with Quinn, and I think he's like legitimately trying to be a good friend to him.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Quinn's just kind of rebuffs him the whole time, and it's like, dude, come on, what are you doing?
I mean, it's like Rembrandt is like, you know, he's like a 40-year-old man. He definitely has the experience that Quinn, you know, a 20-something-year-old idiot, does not.
Yeah.
But no, he's like, he can't hear it. He can't hear it.
You can't understand my pain.
Oh, no.
But either way, you know, Remy kind of encourages him to look her up on this world just out of curiosity. And Quinn does find her right there in San Francisco. And in fact, this version of Dalen, she never moved away. It was instead Quinn who moved away. Otherwise, their relationship was exactly the same. So for Quinn, it's like, ooh, this is my chance. Unfortunately.
He says that with his eyes as she opens the door, weeping.
Seriously. Yeah. She's weeping because he learns that she's married, but in a very abusive relationship with this world's version of Dennis.
Julie's sleeping. If you go upstairs, please don't wake her.
Yeah, wake her for what? She's not going anywhere. This is my house. Don't tell me what to do in my house.
He wasn't always like this, you know. Before we were married, he was kind. He was gentle.
Who's Julie?
My daughter.
God, I hate this stinking house.
Damn him. Can you believe he dropped out of graduate school to join in a band? He's such an idiot. Where was my brain?
And to kind of complicate things even further, they also have a baby daughter together, which we referenced earlier. You can't just yeet a baby through an interdimensional portal safely.
Absolutely not. As an aside, they literally do take a baby with them in season 4. And I take so much issue with the fact that they do that. Because it's like, man, like, how many times is it a joke that you had like a 3-car pileup on Rembrandt's ass, you know? Like, that's comedy every time. And introduce a baby to that situation, and you've got a certain joke that is out of fashion.
Yep.
Dead baby joke.
Yeah.
Is what I meant.
Yeah.
Okay, so that wasn't clear.
Yeah. Yep. It's yeah, at least at this point in the show they're being relatively smart about it. I mean, this is the season where they drive a van through the vortex tube, but like, whatever.
There wasn't a baby, you know. If there was a baby in the van, it would have been fine, because at least you're protecting the baby in the van.
Yeah.
Just gotta think of the babies. You gotta think of the gosh darn babies.
Exactly. So even though Dalen does want to get away from her shitty husband, Quinn is like, well, we can't slide like I want us to, but I can contact my double on this world and sort of set you two up. So Quinn, like, I guess technically the most unselfish thing Quinn does in this episode, because he lets Dalen go, and she still gets to hook up with a version of him. So it's still like, he still kind of gets the girl in a way, I guess. But he's still depressed about it, because it's not him who's getting Dalen. So it doesn't really matter, you know, for him.
It is a pretty crafty solution, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting too, because it's sort of like, this is the best ending out of these 3. Like, nobody dies in this one. And it is the one where Quinn isn't trying to just force Dalen to be with him, you know, like, it is the one where he sort of like kind of gives her a gift that is not ultimately going to involve this version of him. And that's not the case in the other 2 segments where, you know, things go to shit and somebody dies. So
oh man, the stakes never been higher on this show.
Right. This, the only notes that I have on this one that I think are sort of, there's like just some hella out of focus close-ups in this.
This is actually one of my things I really like about the second segment, is how weird it looks.
Yeah.
It's blocked super weird. Like everyone is always like very awkwardly like standing in the frame. Like there's a shot where evil Dennis first raises his hand to Dalen, and everyone, their entire bodies is in the frame in like perfect thirds, and it just feels so constructed in this really interesting way that gives it just feels like a different show.
It does.
And one of the things I like about this episode is that it feels a little bit like you're like switching the dial.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like changing channels after every commercial and watching a different show. And that's sort of like what these slides are. You know, they're like different TV shows.
That's so true. Yeah. Cause like, you know, your first segment kind of feels like a very weak first season episode. And then this segment feels like this.
You changed it to General Hospital or something.
Yeah. It's like, it's the stuff that shows never, it's all kind of soap opera or like family drama kind of stuff that's like, has no place in the show most of the time. Like you never see it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in the next segment, it's like full on science fiction.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is really fascinating. I think Quinn's punch of Dennis in the face is kind of funny for some reason.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah. Well, Jerry does a surprising good job in that sequence.
Sure.
Because it's very awkward. And I think it should be, because Quinn, at least at this point in the show, isn't an action hero. You know, obviously he gets into explosive japes on the regular, but he's still like a grad student, like in science. Right. So for him to sort of like, he really does play it like he's it's like adrenaline. It's like pure adrenaline. He's like, I'm going to sock you. And then he's like, his body gets like really weird and stiff, because it looks like he's like surprised he did it.
Yeah.
And after that, you know, when he's sort of like trying to comfort Dalen, his like hands are like, they're not shaking, but they feel stiff. It's like, you remember in Big Top Pee-wee's Big Top, when he's like running his hands through the woman's hair, and it's like really, it's really weird. Like that's what it looks like Quinn's doing. It's like that weird kind of like Pee-wee boner energy.
Yeah. Dalen's extremely bizarre hair that I could not wrap my head around.
It's
like, don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, they're doing that sort of like not quite dread braid thing.
Yeah,
which it feels a little early for that. It like that was more like 2002 kind of look.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I had that hair in 2002 for heck's sake.
Sliders was ahead of its time
in just the worst ways. But there is a lot of like interesting choices in the second part, and it's a little bit of a drag that it goes by so fast, because it would be interesting to see this kind of, I guess, you know, TV making, kind of filmmaking be expanded on. You know, it's in and out, but it's so interesting how different it is. It just feels like a totally different kind of TV show all of a sudden. And I like that about this part.
I do too. I like it a lot. I think this is a really strong segment of the episode, even in spite of how short it is. And I think, like, as much as I want to see more, I think I'm glad they don't dwell on it too much, because it sort of allows this like abusive relationship to be kind of in broad strokes, but not feel like it's like a whiff either. Like it doesn't feel like they didn't try to write it deeply. It's just, you're only seeing this brief little slice of it.
Yeah.
So like, it's kind of a pretty typical TV abusive relationship that you're seeing, but like, it's enough. You get it. You don't really need any more of it.
Right.
And I think that if they spent more time on it, I don't know if this show would have really been able to pull it off in a way that didn't end up being.
Oh yeah. No, you're probably right. Cause it would have like dwelt, like it would have been like misery porn. And that's not necessary. Or interesting. I don't need that.
Right, especially not like on this show.
No, I mean it goes there later, and it's always bad. It's always bad. Everyone dies. Spoiler alert for Sliders. Everyone dies.
Yep.
I won't tell you how. You gotta get on Peacock for that.
You will never predict how some characters die on this show.
Man, if anyone did guess, I'll give him $5.
Yep. So on to the next world. This is where the meat is really.
Yeah, this is crack your knuckles because it's time to get crazy.
Oh boy, because this is backwards time world. We can tell something's off right from the get-go because the CGI wormhole stock footage starts playing in reverse. And there's
such a choice.
Oh yeah. And then it's just like, instead of seeing people, fall out of the vortex, it just flashes to Quinn, Remy, and Arturo just like standing in a prison cell, dressed in prison garb. Wade isn't there. The timer's counting upward. Everyone's baffled, including the audience. What the hell is going on? What gets even weirder is that their lawyer shows up. It's the same lawyer from the first segment. I think that her like eye color is different. Like they have different.
Oh, really?
In one segment. Yeah. I think she has brown eye, if I'm remembering correctly. I think it's like brown eyes in the first one and blue eyes in this one, or maybe vice versa.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is such like.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Yeah. And I mean, it's such a pointless detail, like, but it's the kind of thing that like, sure, why wouldn't you do that on this show?
That's
like,
true.
it's
Yeah. Well, they do that. It's like in the sort of Sliders adjacent episode of Star Trek Next Generation. There's like one of the parallel worlds that Riker visits, like Data has blue eyes.
Oh, right.
And that's like it. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's weird. He's definitely not home.
But she shows up and they find that like the Supreme Court has turned down their appeal, which they're all confuddled by, because like, appeal of what? What's happening right now? Arturo like gets some court documents to explain what's happening.
You see, according to this, we pled guilty to the murder of an undercover policewoman investigating corruption in the SFPD.
Policewoman. So you're saying that our doubles could be crooked cops or something? How you come with the timer?
I took it apart, I put it back together, still running backwards.
Daylin Richards.
What?
Daylin Richards, that's the name of the woman we're alleged to have murdered.
Daylin Richards, that's...
Let me see.
They're still confused when they're called to their arraignment in court. They do find Wade there, but are sort of like, why is our arraignment coming after we're already in prison? What's happening? It's almost as if things are happening backwards. Which there's like a bunch of clocks in this courtroom for some reason. Like
you got to know what time it is when you're doing crimes. When you're getting busted for your crimes that you did, you got to know that it's 3:33 p.m.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know if the audience is going to get that this episode has to do with time. So we got to make sure that we mention time and then just put as many clocks on our set as possible.
Oh yeah. It's like in the Doctor Who TV movie, they're like, I don't know how we know he's a Time Lord. So his like the TARDIS has like 4,000 clocks in it. And you're like, okay, I guess so. Sure. He's really in charge of that, huh?
Yeah. But speaking of the clocks, Quinn notices the clock in this room is like backwards. Like it's weird because it's like the face is inverted and it's running, I guess, counterclockwise. So it's like clockwise to that world.
It's clockwise to them. Yeah. It's like, the numbers are backwards and it's going backwards. It's like, it's double backwards. It's two backwards. Yeah. That's too much backwards.
Too much backwards. Could have just had the second hand going backwards and we would have gotten it. But
yeah, that's enough.
Whatever, guys. But he and Arturo realize that like, oh, we get it. This world is just weird because of Time's arrow. And we're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Guys, look at the clock.
The face is inverted.
Not inverted, Professor. Backwards. First we're in prison, now we're on trial.
Good Lord, Time's arrow.
It's so cute how quick they're like, yes, Time's arrow's running backwards. And you're like, okay. And then they're just right, I guess. Like that they're not, that's the correct science thing that they just thought of. It's like, okay, cool. Sure, let's go with it.
That's how scientists work. They just see a science thing and just recognize exactly what it is and are always right.
Dude, that's how smart they are, right? They're so smart, my guys, my little dudes. They know everything.
So, like, basically, and the mechanics of this are quite dubious, but the way that it's described is that this world is moving backwards while they're going forward. They're citing Stephen Hawking's theory of Time's arrow, that there's no reason it needs to move in a single direction. So theoretically, you can go to another universe and time just flows differently. Sure, makes sense. I get it.
Yes, the physicist Stephen Hawking pointed out there's no theoretical reason why Time's arrow should point forward. It could just as readily point backwards. We have obviously landed in a universe where Hawking's theorem is proven true.
But we're living forward.
Yes, as far as we are concerned. As far as the people in this world are concerned, they're living forward too. But their forward happens to be the reverse of ours. Hence the clocks.
Which would account for why things keep jumping. Like the skipping record. Of course things be discontinuous. They'd have to be.
I can't wait for you to tell Hawking that his theory was correct and be so delighted.
What's the word they use? Like discrepancies?
Discontinuities.
Discontinuities, right? Discontinuities. I like these ideas. So they say discontinuities because since they're experiencing time in the wrong direction, in relation to the world they're on, like I understand why you'd need to explain how they get to how they keep going backwards.
Right.
Because you need to. It's hard to follow without some kind of like word.
Right.
But the way that they show a discontinuity happening, I think, is maybe the weirdest choice that this episode makes.
It's so strange because it's sort of like, I get it. Like you can't have them literally just walking forwards and everyone else is talking and moving backwards. That would just be incomprehensible. So like for television's sake, I'm sure, I don't know how it would work in reality because who the fuck would ever know that? But like, I think it is an intelligent idea to just be like, they're sort of experiencing time like in little chunks of, I guess, interacting with this world. And because they're sort of bumping up against how time is flowing, then it's just sort of like they compare it to like a jump, like a skipping record, basically, like kind of a time jump. And it's basically like scene changes, but like in the reality of the universe. So they'll experience a little chunk and then the universe has to sort of like catch up with what they're doing. And so there's like a record skip and they jump backwards. But like you were saying, the way that they show this on screen, like for example, once they realize this in the courtroom, they're like, oh, well, since we know our future selves plead guilty from where we just were in prison, then we should just plead guilty right now. And then we're going to like leave the prison, right? So they plead guilty.
Put it this way. If I'm right, a federal marshal should be coming over any second to take off these handcuffs.
What?
Try to understand, Miss Wells. We are going backwards in a world that is going forwards, or rather, vice versa.
Here we go.
Everything kind of freezes. The sound is really weird and muffled and garbled. And
yeah, there's like a weird TikTok sound, like a messed up like. Yeah. And then everyone gets wavy. So like true. the judge and the lawyer are like doing like a Wayne's World memory wipe kind of look. You know, they're like in the front. But the sliders are not doing that. They're just normal. And they're like, I guess we'll just walk out of the courtroom.
Well, like in this case, it's weird because like sometimes other people aren't wavy. Like there is still a guy who walks over to them and takes their handcuffs off. And he's not frozen and wavy or moving backwards. He's like going and it's like, I don't know. It's like there's like some spatial bubble around them that people can enter if they have to interact. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I do feel like they maybe should have done some like walking in reverse stuff. As dumb as that is, I think it might have been the better choice.
Yeah.
Here's why it's really silly. Outside of the fact that a wavy special effect is inherently silly, that gosh darn sound effect, you know. There's a point later on where it becomes diegetic.
Yeah. Yes.
And Quinn's like, wait, Remy, do you hear that? Click, 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 click. It's like, how do you hear that?
Right. It's like, oh, this isn't just for the audience. This is actually
God is making his clocks turn. He's like actually just shaking a clock up in heaven. Like, whoa, yeah, that is different.
Yeah.
It's so funny. That alone, if he didn't say, Remy, do you hear that? I think it would elevate this episode by like tenfold.
Yeah.
It's just so incredibly stupid for him to say.
It seriously is. It's like, well, stripped it of all reality. Cool. Okay.
Well, it's this time when I rewatched it, I thought for a second, I was like, oh, he's just talking about the sirens. Because at that time in the episode, they're being chased by the police because of murder. that they don't know what's going on without yet. And so it would make sense if he said like, oh, Remy, wait, they're not chasing us anymore because we've gone back in time and they're not chasing us yet. You know, like the line makes sense on paper if you think about it like that. But then they put in that gosh darn TikTok.
I know.
And then he's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, you're so close.
I wish that they just, I mean, it's the 90s, so they were going to have some dumb, weird special effect that looked bad, like that was inevitable. But I sort of wish they'd just taken the minimalist approach and like, it's just a flash and they're somewhere else. And it's like, oh, we've jumped back in time, and then just avoid all of it, you know?
You know, it would have that would have been fine. It would, and even that's how they get into the world. It's like, there's like a weird flash out of the vortex.
Right. Yeah. It's weird because like ultimately I do appreciate what they're doing, the kind of the ingenuity of making the scene changes like real, essentially. Like the characters are jumping through these backward scene changes. It is literally like kind of how it's like basically how the Seinfeld betrayal episode is. That's a backwards episode because it is just different scenes and you have a scene change and then it's a little bit beforehand. I think, you know, I sort of like the ingenuity of doing the Sliders version of it, and the characters are just aware of that. It really is just like kind of the explanation of it and the way that it's executed. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, it's a good. I would know what to do if I got this script and, you know, had to direct this episode. I'd be like, oh man, dude, I don't know. I got nothing.
Truly, there's no way to do it without it feeling kind of goofy or feeling like there's some weird, like you don't have
question. Is it in the script? That's what I actually want to know.
Oh, that is a good question. I don't know. I did not look at, I don't know if Earth Prime has a copy of this episode's script, but I know they often do. I didn't think to look at it.
I'm gonna look real quick. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna gosh darn do it. You know, curious. I've got the login to Earth Prime.
Nice.
I don't have to use it for this. I just wanted to show off. Okay, they don't have the gosh darn script for this. That's too bad. I'm dying to know. I'm very curious what it says in that script.
Like, whose decision was that ultimately?
Yeah, does it say like click clock TikTok? If so, then, you know, I have to have a strong word with Steve Brown. But anyway, okay, so they're going. We're talked about click clock TikTok.
Yeah,
we get it. It's weird. They're still accused of murder of Dalen.
Right. So like they jump back from before the trial, but the murder has happened already. So and Quinn is like, oh, well, cool. So this is just taking us backwards to Dalen's murder. So I'm going to stop it, obviously. And that's when we get like Arturo telling the story of the appointment of Samara.
A certain rich merchant was walking in the marketplace in Baghdad. As he looked across the street, he suddenly saw the figure of death beckoning to him. The terrified man rushed home, mounted his fastest horse, and rode 100 miles to Samara. That night, there was a knock on the door of his bedroom. He opened it. There stood Death. "Why did you beckon me in the marketplace in Baghdad today?" asked the man. "I was not beckoning you," said Death. "I was merely surprised to see you in Baghdad, since I knew that tonight we had an appointment in Samara." The point I'm making, Mr. Mallory, is we have no idea the consequences of interfering in this universe's timelines.
That's a story about fate and inevitability. I like this. I think it's actually really cool.
It is
relating that.
It definitely is. It's definitely, you know, it's a lot like if Sliders did the gosh darn Ship of Theseus thing, you know.
Oh, yeah,
it's like that kind of like, let's stop and have a character tell a fable that relates to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It is, but it is good though, and it makes sense with the rules that they're kind of setting with this world, because like you said, you know, it's like they do all say, oh well, we got in jail by saying we were guilty, so let's say that we're guilty to because we know that's what happened.
Yeah.
Like they're already trying to play by what they think the rules are here.
Yeah.
And this is the moment where Quinn's like, F that.
Yeah.
I have to Mac.
I want to get laid so bad.
Yeah.
I do always think it's funny when, like, I feel like Appointment at Samara is like not like a not well-known story. So it's always funny when like every character treats it like they've never heard it before. Like, wasn't Wade literally like a literature major or something? Like, I feel like you maybe have heard this, at least heard of it.
That's probably true, definitely. I mean, I can understand why Rembrandt would have
Sure.
never heard that.
Yeah.
You know, as both a little Rembrandt and the Chandels, always on tour.
Right.
And then later, I guess, in the Navy. Maybe he never heard about it.
In time.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, maybe he wouldn't have heard it. Also, Rembrandt is constantly depicted as an idiot on this show.
Yeah.
In various levels of offensiveness.
Yep.
But yeah, it is funny. It is funny how like reverent everyone gets for like story time.
Yeah.
It's funny that it's just like, oh, time to stop the episode. Arturo's got to tell a fable.
Yeah.
Like, cool.
Well, and I guess like this is really, I mean, if you're doing a deep reading of it, you can kind of sense some of the themes of the episode, but this is, I guess, the first time when it's like, they are literally spelling out like, this is about fate right now. And that's what the rest of the story, kind of how that plays out. And then, you know, you can end up doubling back and putting that reading on the other two segments as well after the fact.
Yeah.
So like it makes sense. It's important. I like the scene, but it is just funny because it's also not a very Sliders thing either.
No, but I mean, again, we're already going back in time. So it makes a little sense to sort of being like, well, here's something else that's wild.
Exactly. So like they get the details on like when and where the murder is taking place and like, you know, how it happens. Time skips backward again and they go to the park where Dalen is supposed to be murdered. They find this world's version of Dennis, but in this case, he's also a cop. He's like backing up Dalen, who's like just having some undercover meeting with some dude to get info on crooked cops or whatever.
It's so nice how it just does not matter.
It does not matter.
It does not matter one bit. Like no one thought about what they're actually doing. Like the guy's just like, they're obviously talking to a criminal. He's got a comically huge gun that he's going to shoot her with. Like it's just like, we're just moving. It's so chess. It's nothing but chess right now.
Right. Exactly. So like how things are fated to play out is that she would get shot by this guy at some point during their meeting and somehow he would frame Quinn for it. I don't really know how that plays out, but like we don't get the court details of the case, right?
Well, you imagine, you know, if you think about what a normal episode of Sliders would be like, it would be that kind of really dumb TV thing where, you know, Quinn beats the guy up and the guy gets away and Quinn's left holding the gun. You know, it would be something that stupid.
Sure.
And then Dalen would be dead. Someone else would do the sort of like they're holding on to her and then they pull their hand away and it's covered in blood. They would definitely have that as well.
Yell a big no.
Oh yeah. Cut to black.
Yeah. I'm still unclear on like why the other three were also like getting life in prison. Like I guess they're accomplices, but I don't see how
Maybe they all like play hot potato with the gun? Right. They're like, oh shit. I'm holding the gun. No, you hold it.
Yeah. It's unclear. I'm never going to say this is the most tightly written episode of the show, but
well, it doesn't have to be because it is about everything else. It's about Quinn and his little quest for love.
Exactly. There's enough cool shit, interesting shit happening that it's fine. Details really don't matter.
No.
So that is how things are supposed to play out. But in this case, Quinn decides, fuck fate. He intervenes, gets Dalen's attention, which results in her only getting a shoulder wound before her shooter is taken out.
To which she literally says, ow. I noticed this rewatch. She's like, ugh, ow. And it's like, yeah, yep.
Yep, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can't disagree.
Yeah, I can.
But,
love that.
Yeah.
He doesn't let it. He changes the rules. He changes the story.
Exactly.
He gets in there.
Exactly. Unfortunately, Quinn still can't mac on this alive Dalen because Dennis is also her fiance, which he says extremely awkwardly.
What do you know about it, huh? What are you, some kind of inside guy?
Who are you to her?
I'm her partner. And her fiance.
Like, why would you tell these strangers that in whatever?
I mean, you imagine Quinn is like looking at Dalen, you know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
He's giving her the puppy dogs.
That's true.
And he's like, buddy.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe Dennis is stressed. He's stressed out because his fiance got shot. Also, you wouldn't. Why would you let them work together? Isn't that a conflict of
Yeah,
interest? I feel like there's
feels
rules
like
there.
it.
I'm no cop, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. This is on this universe, not only is time backwards, but also their rules about who gets to work together and conflict of interests are different. That's the other thing that's different about this universe. Cool. Fixed it. Also, they're both pissed at Quinn because from their perspective, he like ruined this meeting. They don't recognize that he saved their life.
Because how could they? Because of time, bro.
Yeah. Bottom line, Quinn is struck out for the third time. So like, well, at least she's not dead, so that's fine. There's like a funny little bit where Remy's like,
well, I guess that does it, huh? 3 worlds, 3 strikeouts. But if you can look at it this way, I mean, at least you saved a life. That's got to be something, huh? I mean, besides, the way your comment was headed, if you two ever did get together, you'd probably have a child that would destroy the world.
Oh my God.
Speaking of which,
the foreshadowing jackhammer right here.
Good God. So like,
yeah. How do you explain this one? How do you handle it? Arturo has an incredible line.
There's no need to invoke a destructive child. Mr. Mallory has done it all by himself. Have you looked at the heavens?
Have you looked to the heavens?
So good.
To which they do, to see that the gosh darn sky has opened up. A literal, like, goofy, like, tear. Like, it's cloth. Like, it's felt.
It is the fabric of space and time, after all.
Torn apart. Which somehow reveals, like, another Earth and moon through that tear. And then, like, the moon just, like, yeets out of there. Yeah. And then that Earth disappears. And then the Earth starts shaking. It's like an earthquake. It's a heavily implied they destroy that universe.
It is. I mean, and everybody's just like, that's weird.
What could it mean?
In layman's terms, I fear tomorrow may no longer exist.
Wow. It's like, the gosh darn, that old classic Vine where it's the girl doing a huge vape cloud, and then the camera moves and it's like the dorky kid on the couch and he says, "Wow." That's literally what all that Quinn reacts. That's the only reaction Quinn has. He watches the sky rip apart and he just says, "Wow." And then they just go. They just leave.
They do. I really cannot wrap my head around like what they're really what they were thinking about when they were trying to show what was happening in this. Like, I guess in the most literal sense, there is literally a hole ripping, and that's just another universe you're seeing on the other side of the hole because there's a hole ripping in a universe, I guess. But then, like,
I like that.
Yeah, I think that makes most sense. I think the thing that I don't understand is like the moon just flipping around and flying.
Oh yeah, the yeeting moon. Yeah,
the yeeting moon, and then the other Earth just disappearing. I just don't understand that. And this is something I know that there is like I think on Dimension of Continuity, there was like when they had some clips from like deleted scripted scenes, like there is this scene is written and it is pretty much the same as scripted. They just also were going to have like weird rain happening at the same time. Sure. But like this weirdness was in the script, and I still like just can't really comprehend like what the thought process was, but it's
another thing. How do you show the destruction of a dimension?
It's true.
How do you make that choice?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, you want to know, here's a funny relation I have to this is this sequence was pivotal to my high school Sliders fanfic.
Okay.
Season 6 that I had written a lot of.
Sure.
The end of the show is what my show, my fanfic show was going to have this mistake catch up to Quinn.
Ooh.
So there's going to be sort of like dimension cops who like catch the sliders, and they're like, this is spreading throughout the multiverse. Like your little mistake is deleting countless infinite amounts of infinite dimensions. And you've got to go back in time and stop your first slide to save the multiverse.
Sounds rad.
I thought it was pretty cool. They do go back in time to the pilot, and they just pull the power on Quinn's house and then disappear, and that's they do.
Oh,
that's how they do.
So fun. Oh, that's such a fun thing. Fun way to end it.
But I mean, as it is shown, it does look like that's what's happening. They destroy another, not just this world, but another one.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, so what? You just killed like 14 billion people because you like really wanted to bonk?
Exactly.
At least.
It's wild. It's truly wild. And really, like, I think it would be, it's already like wild and weird. And I think it would be even less weird if it wasn't so underplayed. Like the characters truly don't care that this has just happened.
Really don't, yeah.
Truly don't. Like,
well, it's interesting. Like, we do get one more world after this.
We do, yeah.
And it's lit, as the fandom calls it, phone booth world, because they just slide to an empty field that has a phone booth standing in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
And Rembrandt's like,
there's a phone over there, cue ball, in case you want to call her.
Quinn has way more reaction to this than he takes like a full, like, if it feels like half a minute, it's probably 5 seconds, but that's a long time in TV, of just like letting it wash over his face of like, oh, I cannot do this again.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of emotion right there.
Right.
Yet, a minute earlier, may I remind you that the moon yeeted out of the universe.
Right.
I'm playing croquet with the cosmos.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really fascinating because it's sort of like, I don't know how much of it they were thinking about in the making of it but like watching it, like the text itself, it feels like the statement that it's making with that is really it feels like it's meant to be an indictment on Quinn as a character at this point, because it really is just like the thing that you are that focused on is really just wanting to selfishly get with another person. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that you care about. You don't care about anything else outside of that. And it's such a fascinating thing to end an episode on. Like, I love it. I think it's actually I love the open-endedness and the sort of strange darkness of how this ends.
Oh yeah.
And again, like, I don't really know exactly where I land on like what it's saying necessarily, outside of like Quinn's just fucking selfish and should not be doing this and is just leaving devastation in his path of sliding and probably maybe shouldn't do it. Which, was a dark take on the show, but
absolutely. It's got to be accidental, because I don't think they were thinking this far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But it is such like an indictment of like what they do week in, week out. They're like, here's this world, we have a different opinion about it. Let's change it to match our ideologies, our feelings.
Right.
And this episode, I feel, it kind of pokes at that, takes a stick to it. It's like, well, what are you guys really doing? Like, do it for the right reasons,
Right.
Right. To bring it back to The Bachelor, they're not there for the right reasons. But you think about, sometimes sliding helps. It's like the professor, in one episode invents penicillin and saves the people from a plague, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clear good.
Right.
Unambiguous good. This is like, what is the goal here? Quinn just literally wanted to Mac. Yeah. And along the way, he did some good, right? In the second world they go to, clearly he improves Dalen's life,
right?
But he doesn't care.
Yeah.
So it's more of like it gets into this weird sort of more of like a moral imperative than it does an actual like physical imperative of like do the right thing. It's like you have to be doing it for the right reasons, or the cost is this.
Yeah.
Is destruction.
Yeah. I love it. That's so fascinating.
See, that's why this show is hog bonkers and, dare I say, toot book worthy. Because it's like, this is garbage, but here we are, and we've got so much to chew on here.
Yeah.
The ambiguousness of whatever is being depicted, whether or not we know what it is, like, it feels rich. It feels, emotionally rich.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is why why they don't react to it, because that part doesn't matter. They know that they fucked up. The reaction is Quinn on the next world being like almost making another phone call, like coming really close to being like maybe one more time, and then being like no.
Yeah. And I mean, that is like, as much as it's kind of an indictment of Quinn, like that is a very human sort of thing to go through, right? It's like, well, but I do really want this for me. Maybe it'll work this time. Like, maybe I know it failed every other time I've ever done it, but maybe this time with one time that like I'll actually get it right, you know? And it's like, and I guess like if you put it in context of like who these people are, given that they are these untethered like travelers that don't have a home, you know, that don't have a home base, that are like constantly like shifting their reality virtually every week, like the way that you're going to view things is going to be pretty skewed. And so I can sort of see how you might just be like, can I just have this one thing for me, please?
Yeah. Give me this slice of home, you know, give me this thing that I wanted.
Yeah. And also, you know, like if you just destroyed a universe where it's like, well, it's fine, there are plenty more out there, I'll just go to the next one. Like,
right. Oh my God, it's so right. Yeah. The way that it's like weirdly callous.
Yeah.
Because they've been doing this for so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just don't think about it anymore.
Yeah. That's wild.
It is wild. But, you know, gosh, that's why I love it. That's why I love the Gosh Darn Show.
Truly, truly. Same here. For as much as it sucks, it's oftentimes very good. Sometimes very good, but always very interesting. No matter what.
a Sliders failure, you know, I'll take it over 2 bad X-Files episodes.
Sure.
Maybe that's a hot take. That's probably a hot take. But I feel like a bad episode of the X-Files is usually just like the monster's dumb. You know? Like it's not really doing much. It's not lifting itself above what it knows it can be and what it can do on autopilot.
For sure.
But one of the benefits of, I think, Sliders' concept being so hard to define, because it is just infinite worlds. Anything goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is a show that I think most survived on its concepts more than anything, because no matter what, no matter how bad the execution was, there's always fascinating concepts in the show, whether that's like the core concept or just like cool ideas. And even if those ideas were not handled very well, it can often be very memorable and still really interesting to think about. Or like in this case, I do think that this is a pretty good episode of the show. But I think really it has more to do with it being like an extremely well-made episode of television. I don't think it necessarily is. I think it is just such a rich concept and has so many interesting ideas and is such a big swing that even if it's a little bit messy at times, it doesn't really matter, because it ends up just being so interesting to watch and think about, and is truly unlike any other episode of TV I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a thrill. It's a gosh darn thrill. Because it keeps you on your toes, and that's, you know, that's really what you want, I think, with especially genre TV. You know, you want to see something that you thought was impossible. You want to be surprised. And what's more surprising than the end of the gosh darn world like this? You know what's funny about here's a dumb aside. It's not really a side, but so the Earth, space rips apart, right? Like a curtain. On the way they filmed space on Star Trek: The Next Generation, as I learned when I went to the gosh darn set when I was 5 years old, toward the set of TNG. Yeah, my godfather was the costumer for a few seasons on that show.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Very cool. So I got to walk around the gosh darn set, and space was now, I think it's just green screen, obviously. It used to be a big gosh darn black felt curtain with holes in it.
That is so cool.
And they just like, had a light behind it. And that's what space was.
I love it. I love that so much.
It's great. It's so simple. It's like, oh, of course. But it's funny that, here we see on Sliders, like that they're just parting a curtain in space.
Yep.
And it's like, that is what space is. I've seen it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Oh man. Well, thank you so much. Did you have any other closing thoughts or anything about Sliders before we just transition out?
I think I got all of my little pet theories about the episode out. Definitely one of the more bonkers ones. Always love to chew on this one. Love to chew on this one.
Truly. Well, if anyone wants to chew on this show with you, that's a weird transition. If anyone wants to find anything
tasty.
If anyone wants to seek out anything that you're doing, where can people find you online?
You can find me, you can go to my website, which is violetmice.com, like the color and the small critter. You could at me on gosh darn Twitter, which is @_Anniefish. And from there, from one of those combinations, you can find everything I'm doing. If you want to read the old blog about Sliders, which I guess is very appropriate from now, you can go to, let me remember, how do you get there? earthprime.com/roulette, I think takes you there. Otherwise, you can go to the original blog, which was crylikeaman.wordpress.com.
Love it.
Love it. Those are one of the places you can see me yell about Sliders. And then later this year, there'll be a gosh darn book about it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again. You can find me on Twitter at Derek B. Gale or on my other podcast, Walloping Web Snappers, a Spider-Man podcast, which does deep dives into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made and following with style an ongoing Pixar movie marathon, a monthly podcast that dives into every Pixar film chronologically. You can also follow this podcast at Gimmicks Pod on Twitter and Instagram for some extra goodies, and email me any questions, feedback, and corrections to gimmicspodcast@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast on all podcast platforms. And until next time, friends, keep being weird.
Time, he's waiting in the wings. He speaks of senseless things. His script is you and me. Boy, time, he flexes like a whore, falls wanking to the floor. His trick is you and me. Boy, time in quaaludes and red wine, demanding Billy dolls and other friends of mine. Take your time. The sniper in the brain, regurgitating drain, incestuous and vain. The many just nights will invite but nothing. Oh God, I'm still alive. It should be on by now. It should be on by now. La, 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 la.
Man, I'm so confused.